al suo ministro, a sua eccellenza l'ambasciatore d'Italia. A questa occasione della consegna del dizionario italiano Somali-Italian. Questo dizionario è nato da un contratto, da una cosa il Ministero degli Affari Esteri italiano.
Anche per me è obbligo iniziare con un sentito ringraziamento al Ministro dell'Istruzione Superiore che ha voluto organizzare questa cerimonia, all'Università Nazionale Somali e all'Accademia che sono stati costantemente al nostro fianco nello svolgimento di questo lavoro, e al Dipartimento della Cooperazione e dello Sviluppo del Ministero degli Affari Esteri italiani per averci dato la possibilità di realizzare questo lavoro. Questo lavoro che ci ha impegnato, come ricordava poco fa, la presidentessa dell'Accademia per circa 6-7 anni, e che lui da solo non è stato privo di difficoltà che ci siamo trovate ad affrontare a vari livelli di diverso tipo. E credo che per me sia indispensabile anche ricordare una persona che ha importato
in girava italianica Somalia xaaskiisaba madaxda safaaradda Talyaaniga, macallimiinta, madaxda wasaaradda iyo jaamacadda, macallimiinta Soomaaliyeed, aqoon-yahanada kale, dhammaan rijaal waa salaamantiin.
Ringrazio a nome del governo somalo, al governo al popolo italiano per quello che hanno fatto per questo dizionario e in generale per la cooperazione che diventa più. Io ringrazio vivamente anche a nome di mia moglie per averci invitato a questa significativa cerimonia. Come voi tutti sapete, l'Italia e la Somalia sono impegnate in uno sforzo comune in una moltitudine di settori. I progetti di cooperazione sono numerosi, più importanti, meno importanti, più noti e meno noti. Vorrei però dire che il coordinamento odierno, con la presenza, con l'apparizione di questo, mi sembra veramente una cosa di eccezionale importanza e di eccezionale significato.
Dall'Università La Sapienza in collaborazione con l'Associazione Internazionale di Studi Somali. Sul tappeto l'intero spettro sociologico, culturale, storico, politico, economico del paese africano a cura delle specifiche commissioni preposte ad approfondire temi in discussione e relazioni, ben 160, presentate ai convegnisti. Il perché dell'iniziativa, varata nell'80 a Mogadishu e proseguita nell'83 ad Amburgo, lo chiediamo alla professoressa Puglielli, animatrice dell'edizione romana.
È quasi una tradizione ormai dell'Associazione Internazionale di Studi Somali, ma il motivo per cui ci siamo così impegnati è che riteniamo che sia un'iniziativa che è fondamentale per l'informazione. Cosa c'è che si fa sulla Somalia, cosa si può fare ancora.
L'appuntamento di Roma è stato arricchito da una preziosa mostra sugli aspetti dell'espressione artistica in Somalia allestita all'università grazie all'interessamento del Museo Luigi Pigorini di Roma. Di particolare interesse, rarità, i poggiateste e gli altri oggetti in legno intagliato, i monili e le collane con i portacorano, strumenti musicali, reperti di antica letteratura e di moderna scrittura somala in Osmania e in caratteri latini. Quanto sia importante il convegno romano per la Somalia lo sottolinea il ministro dell'istruzione superiore somalo, Abdi Salam Sheikh Hussein, che ha guidato la delegazione della Somalia a Roma.
Capire un popolo amico, capirlo bene dal punto di vista culturale, aiuta molto anche per i progetti, le misure, perché questi non sono meccaniche, questi riguardano popoli, persone. Allora quando attraverso questo si capisce i sentimenti, le abitudini, le relazioni di questi popoli, allora si può anche fare qualche cosa di materiale, di sviluppo per questo popolo.
E che la Somalia attribuisca grande rilievo al congresso lo dimostra indirettamente la serie di 2 francobolli celebrativi emessa proprio per l'occasione dalle poste di Mogadishu.
Let me say that the Italian Development Cooperation took the opportunity of the contact group meeting to present a small but very significant project which we have promoted in cooperation with l'Università Roma Tre of Rome, and in particular with Professor Puglielli, who is a name well known to the Somali community, both in Italy and in Somalia itself. And we thought that this would be a very appropriate occasion to present a dictionary of the Somali language, which in our view also represents a very useful tool to unify Somalia and to stress the meaning of the Somali identity. I will not indulge in explaining to you the details of the Dictionary and the thrust that has promoted this initiative, because I will leave it to Professor Puglielli itself. But let me say that the Italian Development Corporation is very proud of this initiative, and we do want to thank Roma Tre, and in particular Mrs. Puglielli, and all those who have contributed to the realization of this dictionary, because we think that through education, through culture, we can also provide a very useful tool for the peace process.
Before I say just a few words about the dictionary, I think that the other person that should be mentioned is Professor Abdallah Omar Mansour, sitting here next to me, who is co-editor of the dictionary. Many people have been involved. You'll find the list. It would take me some time to read them all. This work started many years ago, before the beginning of the Civil War, and as you can imagine, has taken quite a bit of work, and has been going on for such a long time, also because all of us were doing it not on a side because it was not important for us, but because it wasn't, let's say, put on top of our priorities by the context. Let's put it this way. Now, the Qaamuuska is finally here. It has about 50,000 words, and I should also mention that the starting point for this, as all our two dictionaries that we published in 85 and 98, the Somali-Italian Dictionary and the Italian-Somali Dictionary, are based at the beginning on Yasin Osman Kennedy's dictionary, which was the first one published in 75. That dictionary had 15,000 words. It was the work of one person who did it immediately after the writing of Somali in 72, and it's a milestone in Somali lexicography. Now our work follows that tradition, and it's not the final point, I think. Again, it's a very important step, but work on Somali language and Somali lexicography should go on, of course. So I will only say a few words in respect to emphasize some actual cultural points of the presence of this dictionary, and then something else. So first point, the CAS is a fundamental instrument towards the standardization and normalization of Somali language that, as you all know, was transcribed only 40 years ago. As a matter of fact, this year is the 40th anniversary, so to say. And therefore, the language still maintains a high degree of variability. And we registered some of it in our dictionary because this also is a choice. Second point gives to this language the status of any official national language. The only scientifically sound monolingual dictionary existing up till now, as I mentioned before, is Yasin Osman Kennedy Dictionary, and the CAS is a new step for Somali lexicography. Its existence makes Somali one of the few African languages equipped with this type of instruments of primary importance for any serious educational program. And this dictionary should not be considered an end, as I said before, but a beginning. And finally, this dictionary, together with all the other descriptive works that have been produced over the years, 15 volumes of Somali studies published, and a great number of articles produced by Italian researchers as well as others, constitute resources that cannot be ignored in future language policies in Somalia. This is a very important point, and this leads us to a very short reflection on language policy, and therefore the political relevance of this type of tools. A common language is a necessary prerequisite for any nation, independent from its political system, since a common language is a fundamental instrument of identity.
As the president of Somali Speaking Writers Association, I'm very delighted and thankful for being invited in this event. First of all, I would like to congratulate my honorable colleagues, Madam Anarita and Mr. Abdullah Umar Mansour, for their efforts and for their achievements. Secondly, on behalf of my my friends and Somali Speaking Writers Association, I would like to thank the government of Italy, especially its Ministry for Foreign Affairs and the University of Roma for their endless support for Somali intellectuals and for their invitation to enabling us live in this very exciting moment. The Somali language is the language spoken by all Somali in the Horn of Africa, Somalia, Djibouti, Kenya, and Ethiopia. This language had remained over the centuries as a spoken language until 1972, when a new script, Latin, was officially introduced by the government of the Republic of Somalia at that time. Somali then became the official language and the official medium of instruction and government administration in Somalia in the after 1970s. At that time, a massive literacy and lexical development campaign were undertaken, and a significant body of written literature in Somali also came out in that period. However, with the outbreak of the civil war in Somalia in 1991 and the subsequent collapse of the state, most of members of the cultural and literary community had to flee the civil war and scatter all over the world. Writing and other literary activities were brought to halt, and the use of the Somali language as a medium of instruction and administration in Somalia has been discontinued. As a replacement, foreign languages, especially Arabic and English, are now in use, where the Somali language and its literature were increasingly being marginalized. In the other countries in the region with Somali-speaking population, Somali as a written medium has always been extremely marginalized. In response to such a tragic situation where the standard Somali and its written literature are under serious threat, an outcry is expressed by the government of Djibouti, urging those concerned to do something about salvaging and safeguarding such an endangered language and its literature.
There's no doubt that this language deserves and needs this kind of support. It does deserve it for a number of reasons. One of which is that this language is considered as many by one of the important languages in Africa. It's considered so by many concerned parties, including the African Union, and it's one of its organs, the Academy of African Languages, ACALAN, who recently selected the Somali language as one of 12 African languages selected to be promoted and developed by the African Union. These languages are referred to as vehicular cross-border languages. And they are selected based on a number of criteria, including the extent of their use in various disciplines, such as in education, communication, and administration. And also the number of the countries these languages are spoken, and the number of people speaking or using these languages. So the Somali language was one of these languages. And as part of this initiative, a regional commission has been formed for the development and the safeguarding of the Somali language under the auspices of the African Union. And it's relevant that some of the members of that commission are here today, including Professor Abdullah Mansour, there, my colleague Aden Hassan, who has just spoken, and myself. And we would like to say that we are delighted to witness today, as members of that commission, to witness the launch of this dictionary, which we believe will be useful for the work of our commission. One of the other reasons why Akalan has honored the Somali language is the fact that it's a language spoken by so many people, and because it is a language which carries a wealth of heritage, a unique heritage, which constitutes an essential part of the human knowledge.
In this eternal city of Rome, and glad to witness also the launch of this massive and worthwhile dictionary, written and co-authored by Professoressa Anarita Bulielli and Abdullah Mansour. It's really a milestone in the once flourishing relations between Italy and its ex-colony, Somalia. Today, maybe because of the tragic events and situation in Somalia, these relations between the two nations are not as they used to be or ought to be. Because as a young man living in Mogadishu in the 60s and 70s, I still remember the Italian being the language spoken by the urban educated Somalis all over. Still remember Italian being the language of all movie houses in Mogadishu and elsewhere in the country. Still remember the vibrant cultural activities organized on weekly basis by Centro Culturale Italiano in Mogadishu. Still remember the Italian being the only language used in the transmission of daily news by the state-owned radio Mogadishu, and for the benefit of the sizable Italian community in the capital city and its environs. I also remember with admiration the young Italian scholars from various universities and institutions who were sent to my country to teach at the Somali University. Professor Anarita was one, George Banti was one also. They are no young any longer, but they used to be young. And I thank you very much, Professoressa Anarita Bulielli, because she is still in the business of promoting the Somali language, while all the Somalis are neglectful of their language. That is, I must thank her for that.